Stella Pillay to do the welcome. Thank you.
Arutperum Jodi, Thaniperum Karune, Thaniperum Karune, Arutperum Jodi. Vanakkam, my dear brothers and sisters that have gathered here today. In Tamil, we say Vanakkam. It means I see God within you. Simply. On behalf of the SIVA SABAY, its spiritual council, the executive committees and the trustees, I welcome one and all of you today for gathering here to celebrate the life of a great freedom fighter, Bharathiyar. A great fighter indeed. Whilst he fought for the independence of India and fought for humanity in South India, so did Gandhiji in North India. But Bharathiyar, as we say, has been a forgotten hero of the world. But up till today, we, the community of Lenasia, we still observe and celebrate the birth of Bharathiyar. And may Bharathiyar's teachings live on forever. A great poet, a great philosopher who came from the southern part of India. As you will see his beautiful picture here today, his picture represents something that one of our great leaders, Yusuf Arafat of Palestine, also copied. That shawl that you see around Bharathiyar's neck, it represents the map of Tamil Nadu. Like late Yusuf Arafat had his scarf with a map of Palestine. So both of them had something in similar. They fought for the independence of the country and for the people. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters, for accepting our invitation. Please sit back and enjoy the function. God bless all of you. Anbe Sivam Sivame Anbu. God and all of us. God is love and love is God. Thank you.
So we ask, who is Bharathiyar? Who is this man in the 18th century spoke about the equality of human beings, that there is no difference between man and woman in terms of equality. We are equal. The SIVA SABAY is based on that philosophy, because if you look at the SIVA SABAY, we were the first organization that would put women in the altar. If you go to other organizations, they say it's only a man that could go up to the altar and do the prayer. We boast priests that have been ordained to go to the altar and to conduct our prayers. These are the followings that we've had from Tirumari Somasundram Pillai and Uncle Naini Mudli. For them, that was all they taught us. They taught us equality. They taught us love. They taught us respect of the women. So hence you see me standing here and trying to be the MC for today.
Talking about Subramani Bharathiyar, I probably will need to have 5 or 6 different days of 6-hour sessions to talk about the greatness of him. There is so much he's accomplished in 39 years. But I'm very conscious of your time. So I'm gonna try and talk very fast like they do in the Bollywood movies, right? So you don't miss anything. December 1981, the 15th, I arrived in Madras to start my studies in religion and music. And there were some big television programs. There was life-size posters all over the south of India. And a person of this image, I wonder who was that person. I was very fortunate on that day in my guru's house. There was a television program, and my very music guru was performing. Then I asked the children, what is this all about? My guru's playing here. He says, no, this is a festival. It's a 1-year celebration for Subramani Bharathiyar. He was born in 1882, so in 1981 when I arrived, India planned a full 12 months to celebrate the greatness of Subramani Bharathiyar. 1981 already. The greatness of Subramani Bharathiyar, born into a very humble, pious family, way back in December 1882 in Itayapuram. Itayapuram is in the south of India. It belongs to a bigger village called Tirunel Valley. Tirunel Valley I actually visited on a few occasions. It's one of those villages where, if you know India and if you drove about in India in those ancient buses, rattly, shaky, noisy buses. I went to the bus like that and we drove for about 100 kilometers and the bus just leaves you in the village and you will find your way through, because it's ancient villages, man, I'll tell you. Ancient villages where there's no modernization, no electricity, no roads, nothing. So from this rattle, cracking, shaking bus, and you suddenly dead still. I got out of the bus with my guru. That's what we heard. Absolute dead silence. And my guru said to me, some of the greatest minds in India was born in this dead silence. Itiyapuram Ramachandra Bhagur was one of them. The great Subramani Bharathiyar. He was born of Brahmin parents. And we know Brahmin is what we so-call the learned, scholarly priest caste of India. But he broke those shackles. He said, there is only 2 castes, a beautiful lady and a beautiful gent. There's only 2 castes, those that know and those that don't know. Break the shackles of upper and lower and things like that. He brought people together. He brought unified India. By the age of 7, he was so crazy about writing and journalism and poetry and composing. By the age of 7, he was already an astute poet, recognized all over the southern parts of India. By 11, the great Raja, the ruler of Itiyapuram, arranged a literary contest in his palace, and he said, let everybody come and boast of their great talents. It was on that particular occasion, at the age of 11, where Mahakavi Subramani Bharathiyar, as we know him today, Mahakavi was the title that came on that day. Mahakavi means great poet. The king then awarded him with the highest title for poetry. But you know, his poetry wasn't poetry to express his own personal literary genius. In his poetry, he spoke about all the beautiful people here today. the great doers, about the great medical men, about our great priests and reverends and fathers and pastors and priests. He spoke about them and the great work they do. And in his talkings, he said what we should do as a human race, how we should live as humanity, live in harmony, live in beautifulness, live with intense love for each other.
I am deeply honored to share a few words with you this afternoon on the revolutionary figure who was Bharathiyar, and insights into the remarkable life, as well as why it is so appropriate that the awards today are given in his name. Known as Mahakavi, meaning the great poet, he was a poet, novelist, journalist, freedom fighter, feminist, and social reformer. Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently quoted his works at a recent Independence Day speech. He remains the only person whose writings were nationalized and put into public domain soon after Indian independence in 1949. Bharathiyar was born as Subramaniam Chinswami Iyer to Lakshmi Ammal in Etiyapuram in the district of Tamil Nadu on the 11th of December 1882. At the age of 11, the ruler of Etiyapuram awarded him the title Bharati for his prowess in Tamil language. He later went on to be a proficient author in Hindi, Sanskrit, Bengali, English, and French. Bharathiyar was 15 years old when he married 7-year-old Chennamal just before he left for Varanasi to study. He later returned to Etiyapuram 4 years after 1902, filled to the brim with radical ideas, having written reams against the practice of child marriage. He soon began writing and editing various journals in different languages. For a short time, Bharati also was a Tamil teacher at the Madurai Settapadi High Secondary School. Bharati's poems cut across a wide range of subjects, from nationalism to spirituality, women's empowerment to untouchability. He wrote against the Minto Mole reforms in 1909 and the draconian Indian Press Act in 1910. The British government imposed a ban on his writings, which made Bharathiyar seek asylum in the French-ruled Pondicherry. It was during this time of exile that some of his greatest works were produced. It was around this time that he became close acquaintance to the philosopher and spiritual reformer, Sri Aurobindo, who was also shifted base to Pondicherry. Bharathiyar also started translating significant works, including the Bhagavad Gita and works of the great poet Rabindranath Tagore. In 1918, he was arrested when he stepped out of Pondicherry and only released after he gave a declaration in writing to the British that he would stay out of politics. He dwelled in poverty throughout his life without compromising his dignity.
So, in remembrance of the wisdom and the vision of Sivanyana SABAY of Bharathiyar, we undertook to do this as an annual award. And this year is the first year that we are awarding 22 recipients for this award, because you've done such great work in the community. Thank you. Namendra?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, it's been an honorable pleasure to be accepting this award and to be nominated for this award. I am gratefully thankful and quite blessed to have been acknowledged for the work that we've done in all aspects. With us in that area, we had extended ourselves extensively. We've helped as many people as we could, and it was of greatest honor to be and a privilege to have helped people that could not leave their homes and needed our help in any form. Me and my team have been extensively available. We've extended our services, our time, and Mrs. Governor says we made sure that we delivered to any part of the South. We had delivered to the areas that we lived, and we were extensive in that respect. And with all the team, I accept this award on behalf of the entire team, as well as the association with Milbarton Hospital in the same complex. I'm greatly thankful for this award.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I think it's easier standing behind the counter at the pharmacy than to speak in this mic. But I'm really honored to receive this award and really privileged to serve the community of Lenasia South and Lenasia, the surrounding areas. My phone's just going off the hook during the COVID pandemic. And the response from the rest of the team at Duxnet has been amazing. And I really thank everybody for their support during this time. So, thank you.
On behalf of the Lenasia South Food Volunteers Group, we also want to pay tribute to our youth who went beyond the call of duty, risked their lives. Literally was a group of parents, friends, well-wishers, and we got together and we raised funds in the days leading up to COVID, because I realized that there was going to be a lot of problems in terms of people who are unemployed, the elderly the elderly and the vulnerable, because there was so little information at the time, around the 23rd or so, before the 26th of March 2020. So it was a phenomenal effort, and our kids played. This is my daughter Shamika, and amazing group that's seated there. So everybody got together, they packed, and they went out to sponsors, they collected, they delivered. Each one was driving, delivered throughout Lenasia South proper. So I just want to, we're so proud of them.
Our journey in level 5 lockdown, when we did the hampers, it was an amazing experience getting to know the other community members who were willing to help. And you don't realize the situation of how people live in your own area until you go out there and you see how they live, and it's your own people. And we're always worrying about everyone else outside our other areas, but we don't focus on our own. And it opened our eyes as the youth to realize the situation in our area, and it was an amazing experience. And on behalf of the youth and our group, I would like to say thank you.
Vanakkam once again. I greet you in the name of Almighty God. Whilst we gather here and I receive this award from my organization, I firstly might thank the Almighty for giving me the strength and to protect me, to serve humanity and my community of Lenasia. It was a real pleasure, and I must say, we did many funerals with the help of our organization, the Spiritual Council. And we received blessing from God Almighty. He protected us on the way. He was with us on our side. And we thank Him again that we all are okay today. And to the families that entrusted us to conduct the funerals of your deceased ones, we thank you. Remember, in South Africa, the government allowed 50 people to attend a funeral. In India, the body was cremated, the ash was put into a stainless steel container and left at your doorstep with a name tag. That's all. Nobody attended any funerals. But we were fortunate in South Africa, the Department of Health, the government allowed 50 people. And we did our utmost best to serve the community. And thanks again to the Sivanyana SABAY and for the people that have nominated us. May God be with you till we meet again. Anbe Sivam Sivam, God is love.
On behalf of my mother, I'd like to accept this award, and I'd like to thank Uncle Fakir for the nomination. As some of you know, during COVID, performing last rites was a very hard thing to do, and for any human being, your last rites is the final send-off and the release of your soul back to God. So my mother took the stance against doing puja for funerals. So she did funerals unprotected. She submitted to government to get PPEs, and unfortunately we didn't receive that. However, I'd just like to commend her, being my mother, and you, the community, for supporting all the priests during this time. Thank you.
Good morning, namaskaram. அன்புமிக்க பெரியவர்களே, சிவஞானம் தேவம் பக்தங்களே, செரியோர்களே, தலைவர்களே, என் உள்ளங்கனிந்த வணக்கம். Respected elders, ladies and gentlemen, embodiments of love and gracious light, I humbly accept this award on behalf of our past leaders and spiritualites. Amma Naidu, Prema Naidu, Reji Vandia, Somasundram Pillai, Thiru Neni Mudli, Kurui Arpadi, Viji Padiachi. These are the people that inspired me. They were filled with love, kindness, and always ready to advise. So without their efforts, this day wouldn't be possible. And also remembering how to live a life of Bharathiyar. He expressed that we should never oppress women, educate our young girls, set good values in them, let children play, let there be children, set values, let they be filled with love and joy. Worry about the hunger, people that have no food. We cannot speak about God when they're in hunger and starving. So feed them and embrace them, irrespective of religion, caste and creed. Because there's only one religion, the religion of love, only one caste, the caste of humanity. So we need to embrace everyone because we all worship one God. And only by serving can we receive. Only by giving will we receive. And if we can spread the message of Bharathiyar where there's unity, love and togetherness, irrespective of the religion. Because religion we create and we divide. And by seeking, we can unite. Know that every single one of us gets up in the morning with tremendous amount of power, resources, blessed by Namah Shivaya, for us to handle the situations that He put before us. And the crisis in our country today, we must never stress, don't worry, continue serving and educating the born frees. How to live life, how to utilize the resources that we have. Nandri, Vanakkam.
Good morning, everyone. This is truly an honor to be considered for this award. When I look around this room, I don't really deserve to be here. And I feel there are hundreds and thousands who have done much more than I think I ever did. Of course, Shane is here to my left, sorry to name names, Reverend Kenna. But I'm an outsider to Lenasia, I'm an outsider to Africa, my home is overseas. And when I see this gathering here today, and when I remember the way the community pulled together in Lenasia, I learned when I came to work in Africa and trying to learn some of the local languages. There was a saying in an African language that said, Mutu, Gimutu, Gaba, Gabatu. It means we are human beings through one another. And a community as diverse as Lenasia, Tamils and Hindus, Christians and Muslims, I've never, in my 58 years of life, living in many countries, I've never seen a community that can pull together in a crisis like Lenasia. So as well as being honored for this reward, it's an honor to live among people who don't see, as we just heard from a speaker, what caste, religion, or nation you are. So I'm privileged really to be shoulder to shoulder with great people like yourselves. I was unlucky to have COVID 18 months ago, and I was also placed on a device to help me breathe. And around me were different shapes and sizes and colors and religions. To my left was Mr. Muhammad, a physician, and he prayed all through the day. So even when I wasn't able to pray as a priest, I would just listen to Muhammad. And God is one. Vela said, Vanikum means I see God in you, so I see God in all of us. Thank you very much.
It's truly an honor to receive this recognition, but at the same time, there's many heroes out there, and not all of them will be privileged to receive a recognition. But we know from our experiences in our communities, there were many people that went over and above and helped just about anyone and everyone. And we were privileged enough to be in front and serve the community as we have and as we continue to do so. I want to say thank you to my family, my community, who was fully supportive of everything we did. My family was able to give me the time and all the support I needed to go out there and do the necessaries. Thank you and much love to everyone. Thank you.
Nandri for the award. I've been associated with Sabri Chisti, so I guess I qualify for this because they do such good work. I think most of you would know from the paper Lenasia Times I work with and from some of my books that the two brothers, the most senior brothers who were left amongst the five who ran the Sabri Chisti Association, Shabir had passed on many years earlier, but Abbas was really the lifeblood that I worked with regularly. He passed on exactly a day apart from each other, Muhammad and Abbas, the two brothers. It was the saddest part of the history of the Sabri Chisti Association. So I'd like to accept this award in memory of those two legends, we call them, and in tribute to the new generation who are continuing the work, like Abu and Bashir and others. They were not able to be here today for the very reason that the ambulance service was called out somewhere. So doing what they do best. So thank you, Maggie, also for accepting my nominations. I would not normally nominate people for awards. I'd rather go there and cover them getting awards for the papers. But in this instance, with the theme of the COVID heroes, I felt that there were a few people who were very deserving of it, whose activities might not be as well known to the Sivandhyana SABAY with the closeness I had with it. So thank you very much for that.
Good morning, everyone. We are very honored to be given this and for the acknowledgement from the community and the person that had nominated us to receive this award. By saying so, I believe that we were satisfied with the services that we offer and with everything else. It wasn't very easy during the COVID time. We've lost a few and we've managed to help a few as well. So with that being said, thank you very much on behalf of Bharathiyar.
My name is Razina. I'm the General Manager at Netcare Malbasen and Ballpark Hospitals. And yes, Maggie is right. It was tough times, but on behalf of the staff, the doctors, and the rest of the ecosystem that makes up a hospital, I feel extremely humbled and privileged to be here, to be receiving this award. COVID has been extremely difficult, but I must acknowledge and thank the teams that we have on the ground and you as the community. Yes, we're not based in Lenasia, but we do get a big clientele and our patients do come from the area as well. So thank you for the support, and we will always ensure that we maintain our compassion, and for us the sanctity of life is above all. So thank you all once again. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. We'd like to say thank you to our community for trusting us and always being there, and thank you especially to Auntie Pet and Uncle Vela for always being a call away for goodies, and thank you to our community for being there for us even during our times of loss. And today when I was sitting here, I was just thinking so much about Auntie Melody, and we just give a special thought to Auntie Melody today. Thank you.
Welcome everyone and good afternoon. It's actually an honor and a privilege to receive this award. For many of you that do not know, what we went through as funeral directors was extremely difficult. It took our businesses and put it on 180 degrees, turned us on our heads to the way we had to operate overnight. One of the most important things, we weren't even put on the essential services list. That was so important that we had to fight for that. We got it on the list on the 26th of March 2020, and it was crazy. And the toughest times was we had to change the way we did the funerals. The priests had half an hour to do their services. In the beginning, we were scared, our staff was scared, and I dedicate this award to my team and all the funeral directors out there, because it was difficult times dealing with families where they were only allowing 50 people in a funeral, and families didn't want to hear that. They weren't allowed to bath and dress their loved ones. They weren't allowed to view. It was crazy, and the way we had to operate, especially with the Delta virus, it was scary, and we left behind lots of widows, lots of orphans, and it became depressing at the end, because when we see families, we see them once in maybe 2 years, 3 years coming through our offices. We were seeing families in the same week, mothers, fathers, brothers, siblings. It was crazy. So in our community, with the support and helping us through this time, thank you very much. And thank you to SABAY for honoring us, because we as the funeral directors always are left behind and always forgotten. And it's always the saying that says, we're the last ones to let you down.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dan.
Good day, everybody. I'm sorry, I've got the flu and I've been tested. It is not COVID. Yeah, so we've been through one of the toughest times in our lives. And, well, in recent history, I don't think there's anything that's been as bad as this. And with so much of uncertainty and really no hope as such, people never knew what was happening. There was so much of disinformation. And how did you get people to understand that there is hope and there are ways that we can get things done. So my wife, on the first day of lockdown, actually we are very outgoing people and we never had hope. So on the first day of lockdown, she decides, and it turns out to me, it's early in the morning in the bed. That's on the 27th of March last year. That was the Friday. And then she said, what are we going to do for the next 2 or 3 weeks, which was the envisaged period for lockdown. And then I think she logged on to Facebook and she saw somebody that was singing. And it's the late Bharathiyar, and I'm sure most of you guys know him. And here was this guy sitting and singing his heart out, doing Sai bhajans. And we noticed that there was only like about 2 or 3 people watching the program. But she watched the entire program and she turned around to me and she says, this can help. This can bring peace. So we did not have any idea that it would grow into the phenomenon that it's grown into. There are a lot of spin-offs from what happened with us starting the program. So we contacted a few groups that we knew, and the first person we contacted was Puven Pillay, and said, Puven, do you want to do this? And he said, call me tomorrow morning, we'll decide. So I'm going to call him on that Saturday morning, which was the 28th of March. He said, fine, the girls will sing that afternoon. It took me about 10 minutes to create the page and talk about divine intervention. In other words, I didn't call it SA Tamil musicians, I didn't call it SA Indian musicians or whatever, I called it SA Musicians Against COVID-19. And that name stuck. And we've had some good stories to talk about the positivity of music. And the one story that really I need to say, there is this one person that lives in Cape Town, formerly from Durban, and he had an accident about 6 or 7 years prior to 2020. And well, obviously with all his multiple injuries, I think he broke his hands, his legs, and whatever else. But he lost he recovered from all of that. But the one thing that he didn't recover from was he lost the function of that part of the brain that deals with memory, short-term and long-term. So much so, he's actually a lecturer at the University of Cape Town now. And he lost his family, he lost everything, lost his job, and he was at his wit's end. And the Easter weekend of 2020, we had a full program starting on Thursday nights. I mean, people were performing from early in the morning. There was no, normally people in Durban go to the Mariamman Temple, the Spingo Temple, and all of that. And there was none of that for the first time in our history. So anyway, but he had decided that he was going to end his life because there was no hope. So anyway, he listened to the programs, so much so that by Tuesday morning, his memory had started to come back. And up till now, he owes it to the power of music and the power of the positivity of all the artists and the effort that they put into spreading the positivity out into the universe. And I also want to say to all the artists that perform on the platform, thank you guys. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the award. We, as Drive to Feed, we're really humbled because what we do is from the heart.
It's just something I want to share quickly. We've seen the need when COVID arose. We're all working people. We're the fortunate, if I can put it that way. A request came from work to keep people employed, but senior management had to lose 30% of their salaries as a sacrifice to keep the others employed because business wasn't as good as it was before. We took the dive, we took the sacrifice, and but then the thought struck that if it's happening to the employed, what's happening to the unemployed? And we quickly sat down and we had this vision of going out and feeding and looking after the less fortunate and the destitute. But it was a calling. It wasn't something that we were just going to open up and feed for that moment because we didn't understand COVID. Two, we didn't understand how long it's going to be. As we speak today, it's still prevalent in our society. But Drive to Feed was born from prayer and divine intervention. And we testimony of this today. We've been fortunate to deal with our priest, my spiritual leader, Father Raymond, all the gurus, the mulanas. We've been gifted in that sense that these are people that grew up in our areas and was willing to guide us and teach us. Uncle Bella from the temple was very instrumental in guiding us, in putting things in place. As people said, from prayer it was, the reply I got from prayer was, start off Drive to Feed or start off the organization. You have money. And I'm like, no, I got 3,000 rand and it's the middle of the month. He said, no, spend it. God will provide. I'm like, no, I can't spend this. I need to provide for my family. But it was so convincing that the next day I went out and I spent it. And that was 3 years ago. Today we're feeding between 200 to 700 people weekly. There's people coming from every angle in life or avenue in Lenasia and surrounding areas and providing for us and assisting us and donating. But the need is there and the need is fulfilled. We've been really humbled by seeing, as someone so previously said, your own society, what's happening with your neighbor, people down the street, and in your society, and in your community. There's people, I can tell you, in Greyville Extension 2, 355 households with no food, as we speak now. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. So it's on your doorstep. It's not in the northern suburbs, it's not anywhere else, not in another country, it's here. And we've been gifted to fulfill some of the obligations. So I want to thank the SABAY for noticing what we do. And I want to thank everybody that's here that's been instrumental in our lives to come on board and assist us. But I also want to thank the Drive to Feed ladies. They're the strength. I'm just the representative. I'm the founder, but they're the strength. They're the brains. And they keep the flames burning. So once again, thank you to everybody.
Uncle Sammy?
Good afternoon all. Thanks to Fakir for nominating me. I am grateful to the SABAY for rightfully honoring me with the Bharathiyar Award, which is a very unusual award for anyone to get. And during the pandemic, we embarked on a book project. You know, everyone was doing their own things, and we decided to being printers, and the market was so flooded with other things, we decided to embark in doing a book that was called Be COVID Wise and Keep Yourself and Others Safe. Now this is a book that I have done thousands of copies with, accompanied by a mask that we were giving to NGOs and various organizations that made the difference in their life. So I'd like to thank the organization for recognizing me, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Vanakkam, Namaste, and Om Sai Ram to one and all. Today is actually quite an emotional day for us. This morning we were doing our prayers to honor those that have passed on, and then we got a call to say, please can you come through to accept this award on behalf of my dad. So it's just like a constant reminder of the person that he was and the mark he made in our family as well as the community. And as much as he was a strong person, we also have to thank the support system around him who allowed him to be the person that he was. So thank you so much to everyone who's contributed and helped out, and our sponsors, in order to make these projects and projects materialize. So I'd like to thank everyone for giving us this award, and thank you. Nandri Vanakkam.
Sir Alan always said, hands that serve are holier than lips that pray. Thank you.
I want to take this moment at this point in time to deliver the vote of thanks. Our very, very energetic young lady who was crawling in the SABAY when they joined the SABAY, and she is now of age where she is the chairperson of the SIVA SABAY. I'd like to call upon Diane Viswagani Munyan Padiachi to please come upon and up to the stage and then deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Vanakkam and good afternoon. I thought I would get away, but she said my whole government name, so I had to be here. Thank you very much for attending, for accepting our invitation to be here. It means a lot to our organization, so thank you very much for taking the time. You know, Neki couldn't stop talking about what we have all gone through during COVID, and I don't think there's a single person that didn't experience some sort of loss during COVID. There were moments where you were just by yourself, and throughout the world we all just had to cope, manage. And it makes us remember that we need, you know, no matter the differences and the arguments and the pettiness that we all go through at times, you had to put that aside, because your neighbor who cuts their grass and not the little hedge on your side, they needed help. And you were the person, you were the closest link to assist in some way. So we put all our differences aside and we stood together as one. We stood together for humanity. And that really made the difference for all of us being here, because we could only overcome this in some small way with the help of each other. So thank you to every single person. We can only nominate so many people and we can only award so many people. But it's every single member of us that has helped each other to overcome. So thank you so much. Every year at the SIVA SABAY, we remember Bharathiyar. And every year we choose a different category as to how we want to honor those in our community. And the COVID heroes, obviously it was quite apt to take that particular topic, but we had so many nominations that came in and we could only award so many people at the time. So again, thank you for coming through. Please, if you saw me running around, I apologize. It's that a lot of people couldn't make it from the executive couldn't be here, so you saw me doing pretty much all the running around. Please excuse me for that. To the Spiritual Council, thank you very much for all the continued support. To our staff for the setup and for the cleanup later on, thank you very much. it's those people, it's our staff that we sometimes forget to mention, but it's only because of them that we can pull off functions, that the halls, the temples, the venue can be clean. So thank you very much. Innocent, Joanna, and the rest of the team, thank you. For Auntie Lily for the cooking, thank you very much. So I'm thanking her now, but I know the food is scrumptious, so please stay and enjoy it. To Lenasia Flower Market, thank you very much for the lovely bouquets. To Guru Rajan, Padiachi and Troop, thank you so much for the musical renditions, we appreciate it. To Negi for handling the part that I couldn't because I was doing everything else there, thank you so much. To Spoil Dot and DJ Crew, I have to say the name in case you need sound. My husband's available. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
We need to give a huge accolade to the priests in particular, and from the GNANA Sabay's point of view, we must recognize the work that the spiritual council, in particular Tiruvalla and Tirumati, Petpale, Vani and the others, had actually done, including the likes of Guru Samadran. These people went to the families that had lost loved ones and conducted the ceremonies and the last rites for those deceased. For the families who were absolutely distraught at this point in time, this brought some kind of comfort, because at least the last rites were done in a very dignified way, and it contributed to some kind of healing of the emotional stress and trauma they had gone through. But more than that, the way these funerals were conducted by such persons that I've just mentioned gave the family more of the missing social support and comfort during such times of bereavement. So the big accolade should go to all of those people, those that came in when people were in the most distraught of emotional state, and gave them closure and help them out of the very difficult time that they were facing.
I feel very honored in receiving the award today, and I think it's a great thing that the SABAY is doing towards honoring all the people that have contributed to society during this tough time that we had in the last 2 years with COVID. And it's really an honor receiving the award, and to all the people from the SABAY, a big thank you, and for acknowledging all the people that have contributed and have assisted society during this time.
Thank you, Vasi. I'm quite excited to be here this morning in receiving the Bharathiyar Humanitarian Award presented by the SABAY of Lenasia. It's for the work that I did during the COVID period, bringing a book together and creating an awareness for the people of COVID, not to be infected with COVID. We had some thousands of books together with masks distributed to schools, clinics, NGOs that made a huge impact, and I'm very, very happy that the SABA has recognized me. Thank you, Vasi.
Okay, so my name is Shirley Govender. I'm with the Lenasia South Food Volunteers Group. We ran a successful, as soon as lockdown hit, I think it was around the 23rd of March 2020, and for about a year, I realized that there was going to be a problem. If there was a complete shutdown, that people were going to be in trouble. There was a lot of unemployed people within the Lenasia South proper area. So what I did was I gathered some friends, family members, our children, and we then started raising funds and looking for items so that we could make up food packs. One of the first things we did was to, due to the lack of knowledge and information that was going out regarding COVID, we came up with pamphlets. So that was our first drop. And then I brought in like Abramji, all of that. He gave us 1,000 soaps. So we made up sanitary packs. And then we also started with the food run. And we had a phenomenal response from our Lenasia South community. There's one thing I can say about Lenasia South is that when there's a crisis, everybody comes together.
Hi, I'd like to compliment Drive to Feed and Gregory Lazarus on the good work that they do, and let's hope they continue with it. In the absence of everything else, they are doing something well. Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you very much to the SIVA GNANA SABAY in Lenasia
to the Guru, the spiritual head, the women folk of the SABAY, that's a women's forum, for always highlighting the committed people in our community, those that are really going out of their way to strive and to enlighten and to ensure that the lives of our community, members of our community, are well suited and well cared for. So to the SABAY, the officials, I say thank you very much, and for inviting us, and thank you for honoring all the local people, because that's what it is. It is time that we recognize our local people and give them that scope and ensure that they are being rewarded in some way or the other. There's lots and lots of, with COVID-19, I think, Vasi, you should be aware that we did lots and lots of hamper drives. The SM musicians came on board, the different organizations were on board serving our communities. And like someone mentioned, right here at our doorstep. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasi. So firstly, I want to thank Fakir Hassan for choosing me, for nominating me for this award. I know some people say that awards are not important and we, doing God's work, should do work selflessly. I agree that we should do work selflessly. But I think in recognizing people like myself, you set an example to others, especially females out there. If we look at the Hindu community in general, females are suppressed. We're not allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that. And people, right up until now, where I do prayers, there is a resistance in some situations simply because I'm a female. So I want to thank the SABAY for accepting the nomination that came through from Fakir Hassan, and I hope that this will be an example to other females out there that want to do good work for the service of mankind. So firstly, when COVID came about, we as priests had to comply to two things. Firstly, it's government regulation, and secondly, we had to adhere to rules that's based on our scriptures. The challenge that I faced was most of our priests were above the age of 60. And there was a thing out there that many priests said because of fear they're not going to do prayers. I took a decision then that I will do a COVID funeral. But at the same time, I didn't have enough knowledge on how the whole COVID funeral works. So I called a meeting with National Health, priests around South Africa, and we had a scientist involved, and they guided us on how to do a COVID funeral. I made sure that I adhere to the time, which is most important, and also make sure that I follow what's required as per scriptures and adhere to rules that came from government.
Vanakkam. The Bharathiyar Awards, organized by the Sivanyana SABAY, heralds in a very important community calendar event. It's events like this where we have opportunity, firstly, to honor a genius, a visionary, and an individual who 150 years ago took on the established systems in places like India around gender equity and gender-based violence, and who preach equality amongst everybody, including the Dalits on the one hand and the dark-skinned people on the other hand. And it is just visionary that when we have an award of this nature, we rekindle those thoughts of his skill, his effort, and his visionary genius. And in so doing, when we look at events like the pandemic, the COVID pandemic that ravished the world was obviously unprepared. The pandemic took us by surprise. We had absolutely no idea of what we were facing in terms of the COVID virus. But sadly, the deaths that occurred and the way we interred those bodies left the families absolutely distraught. On a number of months, people that died of COVID were given burials in a state-organized manner, immaterial of religion that they had followed. There was no closure for the family in terms of reading out the last rites or giving the last rites to the deceased. This created a huge emotional strain and stress on the loved ones that remained behind. Further to that, because of the containment rules and regulations and restrictions, it meant that the usual support when people lost somebody dear and near to them, they didn't have the close emotional support and comfort that normally comes with the messages of consolement and the acts of consolement when people pass on. That was taken away. So that was another devastation to the emotional status of the remaining families.